The following is a production of the University of Minnesota.
The tenure war with the regents in the mid-1990s was perhaps the most obvious recent example of a situation in which principles of academic freedom were called into question in a very serious way. How would you characterize the actions of the Senate during that crisis?
Remarkably strong, consistent, and successful. But very bluntly, it was probably the worst attack on academic freedom and tenure that we've ever experienced in the history of this university. It was an attack that was unnecessary, but it happened. And once it happened, it mobilized the entire faculty. It mobilized them in such a way that the Senate was united. There was no division whatsoever. The battle was really a battle to preserve academic freedom through the preservation of faculty tenure. Because once faculty tenure is removed, academic freedom is under siege. They are both integrally connected. Without faculty tenure, there is a threat to academic freedom. And that was the major issue of the tenure debate. For those who are not familiar with the event, let me just quickly summarize it. A major unit of the university, the medical school, was in deep trouble. It had appointed people on soft money, and with the economic declines that were taking place and so on, soft money was no longer really covering their needs. So they had to resolve the issue. The head of the medical school, who later became head of President Johns Hopkins, came up with a plan that we eliminate tenure at the medical school. One of the regents decided that, hey, that's such a good idea, we'll eliminate tenure at the whole university. Unfortunately, Nils Hasselmo didn't nip that thing in the bud, as he should have.
He was president.
Yeah, the president then Nils Hasselmo. He should have nipped it in the bud, but he didn't. The end result was that there was a proposal put forth before the Board of Regents to eliminate tenure. That triggered one of the most active movements against the Regents' policy that I've ever seen. A number of senators got together. There were 19 of us, actually. We were called the Gang of 19, and we organized the whole opposition. And it was just throughout the whole university. It wasn't just a bunch of kooks from the liberal arts. It was everybody, including medical school people who were part of the Gang of 19. We mobilized people in such a way that we got the newspapers on our side. Doug Rowe wrote a column about one of the regents who refused to, who was one of the major figures in the movement, who had said, when asked that to be informed about the history, the culture of the university, he said, I'm not interested in learning history, I'm interested in making history. Well, Doug Rowe continued that column and so on, and got a lot of sympathy for our position. The faculty got so incensed that the AAUP was even mobilized. And the AAUP became, in fact, a mass organization on campus. The AAUP, what I'm referring to, is the American Association of University Professors, which, of course, was the long-standing academic organization that defended the rights of faculty nationally. So much so that the AAUP decided to do something that some of us tried to do in the earlier 70s, to unionize the faculty. And there was a vote, a collective bargaining vote, and the collective bargaining principle was rejected by 6 votes out of 2,000 cast. It was so narrow. Some of the advocates of collective bargaining were saying, oh, what a tragedy, we lost. And my attitude was, no, we won. We won. We don't have to go through the mess of collective bargaining and we'll get it. We scared the crap out of the regents. They moved, well, the main proponent of the elimination of tenure, the regent, resigned. Largely because of some Doug Rose columns. But anyway, she resigned. And Tom Sullivan, who was then dean of the law school, came up with some kind of compromise kind of things which preserved tenure and the sense of academic freedom. And we won that battle. We won that battle, won it very, very handily. It had national repercussions.
It was one of the only times in which faculty have faced off against regents, and the regents lost. I think nationally that was...
It had a great impact nationally, yes. In fact, we had a national reputation of being the strongest defender of academic freedom and of tenure in the academic world. The Senate was constantly in session, almost, well, regularly, not constantly, but regularly in session, because there were always some kind of a issue, of a crisis that appeared during this period, and the Senate supported the Gang of 19.
Yes, yes. I was vice chair of the Faculty Consultative Committee during that year, and there was a very complicated relationship between faculty governance, official faculty governance, and the Gang of 19.
We were all in the Senate.
We were all in the Senate,
yes.
but there were tactical maneuvers to enable the Gang of 19 to work more vigorously, let us say, than might be seemly for an
the Gang of 19 were not an official body of the Senate, but we were all senators. You know, so that sounds complicated, but it really wasn't. It worked well because we worked in tandem.
Yes.
Yes. And whatever we did was supported by the Senate, right to the final decision. You know.
So after that battle was resolved, I think it's fair to say that there were some changes in the relations between the Senate and the administration. Could you talk about those?
Yeah, there were dramatic changes. First of all, the kind of standoffish relationship between the regents and the Senate leadership, that disappeared. A closer kind of ties between the two emerged out of that tenure war. And I understand it still continues. Having not been an active member of the faculty for the last 7, 8 years, I'm not as involved in it, although I still get the minutes of all the committees and so on. But still, I think from reading that, it seems to me that this major change that took place after the tenure wars in the relationship between the board, the formal relationship between the Board of Regents and Senate leadership, and the informal relationships that existed between members of the Senate and individual members of the Board of Regents, have made it a more kind of smoother kind of relationship that allows for the shared governance process to continue. Now, when we think of shared governance, we always think in terms of faculty administration, but regents are involved in it too. So, yeah.